Welcome to our show, The Science of Death, Part 2 of 2. In the first part of our show, we learned about the fascinating research from Dr. Sampania and Dr. Jimo Borjigan, which identifies that something incredible is happening in the brain surrounding the time of death, and may even prove that near-death experiences can be scientifically validated. We now turn to the end-of-life research conducted by Dr. Christopher Kerr of Hospice and Palliative Care, Buffalo in New York, United States. His work has been featured in the documentary Death is But a Dream, and he is the author of a book by the same title.
This is the most interesting thing that I've ever done with myself, is dying.
The nurses were able to predict somebody's death better than I was based on what the individual might be dreaming of.
Everybody I knew that was dead was there.
It's hard to explain because it's so real. It's ridiculous.
That was real. That was really real.
Dr. Kerr's TED Talk, I See Dead People, Dreams and Visions of the Dying, has been viewed over 5.3 million times.
I didn't choose this topic of dying. I feel it has chosen or followed me throughout my life, personally and professionally.
Dr. Kerr has studied over 1,500 hospice patients in the weeks and months leading up to their deaths and has worked in hospice care for over 24 years. Through his research, he has observed a pattern of what he calls end-of-life experiences, or ELEs, which are visions or dreams that provide comfort and prepare people for a peaceful death. Let's hear more from Dr. Kerr.
We looked at this as what changes occurred as people who got closer to death. And what happened is they stopped dreaming of everyday events and started experiencing people who were most important to them. And the predominant themes are themes of love. Whatever injury you had, that could be you lost a child, that comes back to you. We've had many veterans who had survivor's guilt, that gets addressed. We've all been harmed in one way or other for having lived, and we seem to get put back together through these experiences.
In a study conducted by Dr. Kerr and his team, they spoke to 66 dying patients daily, gathering a total of 450 conversations. Let's learn about his findings.
What we found is the vast majority, over 80%, reported at least one pre-death dream and vision, described as more real than real and distinct from normal dreaming. The next question is, what were they dreaming of? What we found out was 72% dreamed of the deceased, family, relatives, pets. 59% of this theme to go or preparing to go, 29% of the living, and 28% past meaningful experiences.
Moreover, the study found that the frequency of ELEs increased as the patient drew closer to their final moments.
Frequency is on the y-axis, weeks before death on the x, and as patients approach death, they have a dramatic increase in the frequency of their dreaming, but dreaming specifically of the deceased, which is associated with the greatest comfort.
In another study, Dr. Kerr investigated the significance and impact of these ELEs on dying patients.
Seeing the dead or seeing the living was overwhelmingly positive, provided a sense of reunion and a feeling that one was not alone.
Is it possible that these ELEs are divinely designed mechanisms that help dying patients prepare to let go?
The life you led gets kind of validated. And inversely, the fear of death seems to lessen. What comes out in abundance is they're not fighting the dying of the light stuff. They're actually trying to get towards, not away from.
Dr. Kerr reflects on what his research has revealed about the end-of-life process.
what you see patients go through is this journey of discovery. They're at the end of their life and they're rediscovering who they were and who they loved. It gives you this faith that something else that's better prevails.
Now, let's explore the moving first-hand accounts of Dr. Kerr's patients, each detailing their unique end-of-life experiences. We begin with Jean, who dreamed of being with deceased family members.
I was laying in bed, and people were walking very slowly by me. My mom and dad were there, my uncle. Everybody I knew that was dead was there after I woke up the next day, I assume. And I felt good. I felt good to see some people. I have seen my mother recently more.
How do you feel when you see her?
Oh, wonderful. I can't say that my mother and I got along all those years, but we made up for it at the end.
Our second story comes from Maggie, who dreamed of her deceased sister.
I was laying down in bed, my sister came to me. My sister, when I died, she came in bed by me in bed, and I said, stay with me, don't leave me. And she said, I can't. And then she said, so we'll be back, we'll be with you. And then she says, I'll be back. People don't believe me when I say this stuff. Do you believe me?
Yes.
Our final story features Dwayne, who was suffering from end-of-life nightmares that led him to reach out to his daughter.
My dreams, man, my nightmares, I don't like them. I think it's because my past is coming back to me, from doing wrong. Because I'm not going to say I'm the perfect guy when I was out there, because I was running the streets, doing wrong to individuals that I knew I shouldn't have been doing wrong to. Now they caught up with me. And now they know my symptoms. They know I'm sick. So now they want to try to hurt me.
So he woke up pretty transformed, with a powerful need to reach out to his family and really for the first time to say, I'm sorry. He asked specifically to see his one daughter, Brittany, who happened to be in prison at the time.
Dr. Kerr advocated for Brittany to be released from prison so she could make amends with her dying father.
And they had the most beautiful reunion in the middle of the hallway.
I came through the front door, and when I turned the corner, he was just walking with his walker, and I said, hey, old man. And it was I guess he heard my voice and he just froze and stuck, and he lifted his head up and he moved that walker and he snatched away from her and he just started walking towards me all fast. And we just stood there for, I want to say 3-4 minutes, and we just cried. He just kept saying how sorry he was and he didn't mean it. And I just told him, don't worry about it. I'm home. I don't even care about Dad. That was the longest I actually really ever hugged my dad. Ever.
Our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Christopher Kerr and his fantastic team at Hospice and Palliative Care, Buffalo, New York. Your groundbreaking research is helping end-of-life care, and your findings provide solace and assurance to those facing the journey to the afterlife. Dr. Kerr's research encourages us to consider how we can better support our loved ones who may be approaching the end of their lives. As our loved ones enter the dying state, we can recognize signs through their behaviors. During the dying process, our senses tend to shut down in a particular order, which can provide clues to understand what they may be experiencing. As the body shuts down, the first noticeable change is a decreased appetite and thirst. The body no longer needs the same level of nourishment and may struggle to digest food. Next, the person's speech will begin to slow, making conversation increasingly challenging. Eventually, they will likely lose the ability to speak altogether. As their breath becomes shallower, the dying person will close their eyes more often, indicating a loss of vision. During this time, they may experience more frequent visions, as described in Dr. Kerr's research, as they drift into unconsciousness. The sense of touch will then fade, and the person is unlikely to feel any discomfort or pain as they reach this stage. While hearing is the final sense to diminish before death, studies have shown that even when the body is unresponsive, the brain may still actively respond to sounds. Supreme Master Ching Hai Vegan supports these findings and offers guidance on how we can assist those who are nearing the end of their earthly journey.
Another way to assist them is by reciting the names of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Pacceka Buddhas, so that the recitation of each name passes by the ear of the dying one and is heard in his fundamental consciousness. Even though the person is not dead yet, but is already unconscious, he still hears it. There's another mechanism, apart from the body, that hears and sees things around while you're dying or while you're unconscious. Even at the time of death, before you go into the three evil paths, just before that, even if you remember Buddha's name, just one Buddha's name, or one sentence from here, then the road to hell is closed for you. Even if you've done a lot of bad things, everything is illusion anyway. Killing, stealing, robbing, it's all back and forth with karma in the cycle of revenge and back and forth each other. So therefore, the name of the Buddha is true, at least truer than those karmic consequences. So if you repeat the names of the Buddha, meaning your mind, your thinking is toward the truth instead of toward the fake, then immediately the hell and all the bad destinies can close in front of you. So at least you are saved for that life.
Thank you, most compassionate Master, for sharing this profound teaching with us. Your words remind us of the immense power of faith, especially during the most critical moments of our lives. May we remember the significance of keeping our minds and hearts oriented towards the truth and compassion, for it can guide us away from negative destinies and towards a more enlightened existence.
Want to look more beautiful? Yes? Then choose vegan.
Enlightened viewers, thank you for your company today on The Science of Death, Part 2 of 2.